In 2025 and beyond, content creation is no longer a hobby, an optional marketing tactic, or something just reserved for influencers. It has now actually become a core professional competency, similar to how email proficiency was required in the early 2000s and personal websites were foundational in the early 2010s. So here's why mastering content creation matters today and why those who don't will get left behind. Reason number one of eight being the most important, attention has become the currency of the economy. Brands don't compete on features anymore. They compete on relevance, resonance, presence, and memorability. And consumers ultimately purchase more than anything based on familiarity. And that familiarity comes from repeated exposure across channels. This means basically the more people see you, the more likely they believe you, not psychologically, but neurologically. And in fact, studies have shown repeated exposure increases someone's perceived credibility, desirability, and their preference. So that makes content creation the mechanism that drives exposure, which leads us into reason number two why you need to master it or get left behind. And then that is because authenticity and just being you has become the competitive advantage. And in fact, people don't trust advertising anymore, but they do trust human beings. Creators who can clearly communicate, show their real decision making, reveal behind the scenes of what it's like to actually be a human in their shoes, in their circumstance, in their situation, that can actually appear consistently. Those people tend to create a bond that brands cannot replicate with traditional media. And that becomes a competitive advantage because you see, content is no longer about reach, it's about relational depth at scale. Which leads us into number three here of master to get left behind. And that's because modern self expression now happens digitally. So, whether you realize it or not, you communicate your identity through your voice, your visuals, your environment, your values, and even your aesthetic. So, aesthetic identity is brand positioning. What you show teaches others how to perceive you professionally, personally, socially, and emotionally. So you actually might want to slow down the next time you're going to post that rage out or excuse me that freak out on your TikTok or when you want to blast your boss or when you want to do anything like that because it makes you a risky hire if you are into building a career. Now, because of that, we want to understand that content creation is now your real world presence. Boom, here, projected digitally. So, this actually matters for people that are business owners, job seekers, professionals, educators. The list really goes on. Creators, consultants, anyone who really has a reputation that matters. Basically, everyone, right? Which leads us into reason number four of master it or get left behind. And that's because trust now begins before you meet someone. Think about it. Before someone hires you, dates you, collaborates with you, purchases something from you, promotes you, attends your event, enrolls in your program, they're going to go look you up online. Not accidentally. That's very intentional. So that means that your content that you create becomes your credibility, your proof of knowledge, your social identity, your character signaling, and your value demonstration. That means the quality of the content that you produce is the quality of the digital handshake you extend to the world. And that leads us into number five. And that's because people have shifted from social sharing on social media and they have now moved towards behavioral influence. Content creation is no longer about expression, it's about persuasion, which is crazy because it's social media, right? And the terminology just hasn't caught up. But in 2025 and beyond, creators now influence things like purchasing decisions, what career you're going to pick, the health choices that we make, the belief systems that we ingrain into our lives, and even our professional identity. And every profession now increasingly favors people who can influence behavior at scale. The skill behind that influence is the ability to create content, which leads us into number six of mastered or get left behind. And that is because storytelling has become a professional skill set. No one's talking about it yet. So you're ahead of the curve. But most people think that storytelling is just for entertainment. And that is just frankly outdated. Storytelling is now exactly how educators teach, entrepreneurs sell, leaders inspire, experts differentiate, communities come together and form, organizations attract audiences, brands retain loyalty and engender repeat purchases. And so, with all that in mind, we need to understand that the ability to create content means that you can organize experience into structured emotional meaning. That's all story is, structured emotional meaning, which leads us into number 7 of why you need to master social media or get left behind. And it's that the global market now rewards, this is crazy to me, visibility over proximity. Meaning, how often you show up on their feed is now going to be perceived as higher status, more so than your ability to show up belly to belly with someone. It's crazy. So, when you think about historically, value is determined by your ability to go out and interface with people, which, I mean, frankly, how else would they know about you? But now, and it was also then something that was relegated to geographic localized markets because that proximity allowed you to actually go out and interface with that opportunity. However, what's happening in 2025 is that access is now global along with competition and attention. We are competing with people from different countries in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in South America. And that's why we need to make sure that we understand that visibility will multiply your opportunity faster than anything else. And in fact, I've booked public speaking just from putting out content. I had a guy pay me $1,000 for a single hour of my time for a Zoom. It was amazing. And thing you need to understand is that visibility multiplies opportunity. Silence and not creating content will dissolve any chance that you have and leave you further and further behind. So, with that in mind, content creation is how you enter the global stage. And this is crazy because even small creators can now reach international audiences, form partnerships across different industries, distribute intellectual property and unique thoughts, and even develop a passive reputation equity. Meaning, if people want to know who you are and what you're about, they're going to go check out your social media. And you don't even have to say anything. It's pretty amazing. We see this all the time in the dating world. You're going to go look someone up before you out with them. Now, why that's important is because it creates lead flow, things like opportunity flow, social influence, and frankly, compounding value without having to be there. That's the coolest part, which leads us into number 8 of why you have to master it or get left behind. And it's because AI is now strengthening and increasing the gap between the people that are visible and the people that are invisible. People are worried about AI replacing coaches and educators and people in the service industry, consultants, but AI cannot replace, as of right now, your humanity. And that's really, really your competitive advantage. People will choose humans with consistency, presence, personality, values, and a real world story. AI can replicate knowledge, no doubt about it, and it can do it better than most human beings, but it cannot replicate identity. Therefore, you really got to understand that content creation isn't just about marketing anymore. It is self preservation in a new global marketplace. So, final thoughts here is that mastering content creation is a modern equivalent of mastering communication, professional identity, and your ability to influence behaviors. In 2025 and beyond, people who can create consistently, communicate clearly, build relational depth, and show up authentically while structuring real moments into story and creating emotional meaning from their life, those people are going to rise faster in every domain. And, just so you're thinking about it, business, education, leadership, relationships, branding, health, career mobility, economics, you name it, they will continue to grow faster. So, content creation isn't about being creative. Let's just put that to bed. It's about being visible, relatable, meaning it's got to be you, and above all else, remembered. And that means that you need to bring what's unique to you out to the community. And that has always been the foundation of influence, frankly. And if you have no idea on how to even get started, we created a 28-day beginner advent calendar, which breaks up the most essential content creation skills from how to frame video content, how to do a little basic copywriting, things like that. It's free. It's in our school community, which again is also free. Um, so those are things that if you want access to that, please head over there, check it out because you're only stuck if you don't ask for help. There's no reason to not be making progress in every domain by leveraging AI, by leveraging business connections, by leveraging the global network. And as people are as you're competing with people across the world for attention, if they're showing up in your feed, they might also have something valuable to share. So actually, I would encourage you to maybe cultivate your feed, not stop the scroll. But all that to say, I hope this has been helpful. Please share this with someone that frankly probably needs a little bit of a nudge and a kick in the butt to get out there and start producing content, and even send them the link to the school channel where they can go and find the school, excuse me, the guide to the 28-day advent calendar. There's 3 levels. As of right now, we are working our way through the beginner level. Hopefully, as this ages, across the next 60 days, we're going to be putting out one advent calendar every month that builds upon the previous one. So no experience needed. The things you will need are going to be a smartphone, pretty much it. Maybe like a social media account, right? Highly encourage you to do YouTube. Some people like TikTok. Too much volatility with that. But anyhow, hope that's been beneficial. Please like this. Please subscribe to the channel. We love you guys, and we'll see you at the next one.